down between the two countries. And I think the communication via Truth Social and tweet does help to bring the temperature down, and more important is build a positive sentiment between the two countries. You have to understand that while you have two leaders talking about building a strong partnership, why it is important to have this trade agreement, you have forces within the U.S. who are not keen to have that agreement. You have basically individuals within the White House talking about putting punitive tariffs beyond 50% in India. There are discussions going on with the EU to have 100% tariff on countries which are doing trade with Russia. So I think we are not out of the woods, but at least we have a sentiment which is moving in the right direction.
Right. Do you expect now, because every few days we are seeing some improvement in ties, does this indicate to you that we could possibly see a pause on the 25% additional tariff?
So what we have requested and written to the president, that the secondary tariff of 25% is unjust, and for the trade and negotiation to move forward, I think it's important we basically take that out. What we have to do is look at some kind of an off-ramp for the president so he can move in that direction. What is that off-ramp? It could be multiple ways. That needs to be managed from the India side. It is important that India has restrained making any comments on the secondary tariff, with the exception of saying they're not they're unjust itself. So I think both sides have to find ways to move forward, and I think the social media communication between the Prime Minister and the President basically moves it in the right direction.
How soon do you expect formal in-person negotiations to begin?
I believe that it should start moving very, very fast, because I am aware that USTR team is in the neighborhood talking to other countries, and it'll be critical that they come into Delhi and start talking to our negotiators in India itself, because what's happening is every day that goes by, the people who are working in the garment industry, people who are working in the jewel industry, people who are working in the low end of the exports are suffering. And it's important that we basically take this 25% tariff away, so at least the orders, the execution of the job continues without major interruption itself.
Right. When it comes to the off-ramp, what do you think could be an offer that India could make which would suit the president?
Well, I think it's not just about India making that offer. I think U.S. has to provide some kind of alternative to India on the energy purchase, because India has a requirement, and if it's able to find cheaper oil, it is India's interest. So I think from that perspective, if U.S. can provide more energy, or other partners of the U.S. can provide that, I think that could be a way for India to basically wean away slowly from Russian oil and explore other alternatives itself. So, but I think it is also important to understand that you cannot dictate penalty on a nation because it is buying energy for its needs, for its people. India is a sovereign nation, it's a proud nation. And so I think there has to be a give and take on both sides to find an exit ramp so you're able to move things forward.
Right. We've also been noticing how both leaders, their responses on social media have been coordinated. So clearly there's been a lot of work happening behind the scenes to put things on track. What's been your recommendation and recommendation from industry chambers as to what is at stake? And if this relationship had gone down, how would this damage the two countries?
Well, there has been a lot of effort. You have to understand, the CEOs have met with the president. We have reached out to the Congress leadership in the U.S. itself to basically impress on the president. We have reached out to the family members. So there has been a lot of energy put in to bring the relationship back on track. You also have to understand there are vested interests which would like to see this relationship get off the track. There are neighbors who are keen to ensure that India's partnership with the U.S. does not continue in the same trajectory. So we have to deal with those interests which are against a strong U.S.-India partnership. But you have to understand that you have geopolitically, the two countries are aligned in every aspect. From an economic perspective, countries are aligned. We are looking at large investments of U.S. companies who are not only manufacturing in India for de-risking their supply chain from China, but more important is they're also looking at growing Indian market itself. So in every aspect, the interest of U.S. continues to be India, and so on that basis, you saw a lot of effort being put in by people, by corporates, by interest groups to ensure that the relationship comes back to the track.
Okay, my final question, sir, very briefly, what do you think will be a good tariff line or an average tariff at which the trade deal should be agreed upon by both sides?
Well, we have always emphasized that a tariff between the U.S. and India should not be more than 10%. And the reason we said that is because you have a large chunk of exports from India, which are basically lower priced goods coming in. But at the same time, if our ambition is to take this relationship to a $500 billion trade agreement between two countries, a 10% tariff is a fair tariff. But at the same time, keeping the interest of India, which is on the ag side and also on the dairy, which is red line, but we'll find a solution on that also. Because I think the objective is to find common grounds, find a win-win value proposition. And I strongly believe that we will find a solution so both countries can move forward in driving the objective of $500 billion trade by 2030 itself.
All right, Mr. Aghi, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views on what has been the effort made behind the scenes to put the relationship back on track and how these positive messages at least give a room and opening to the negotiators to begin sitting on the table and starting talks afresh. Thank you once again for being with us. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Newscentre. More news and updates continue right here.